So he's stuck in and all as well?
Hello, my name is Michael Milanoski. I'm the town administrator for the town of Carver. And today I'm fortunate to have our new town moderator, Mr. Clancy, who was just recently elected to serve in this role. And what we wanted to do today is to kind of prepare everybody for our upcoming town meeting, which is going to be Monday, April 22nd at 6:30 is when the start time is. And to kind of go over what we're looking at for this year's annual town meeting. And Sean Clancy is going to present some new ideas and thoughts that he has as to how to potentially better run our town meeting. So with that, I'm going to talk a little bit about the detail in a few minutes. But I think what everyone really wants to hear about is not me again. You hear me every year with everything, but how Mr. Clancy plans on running town meeting this year, and with that, why you decided to take on this daunting task. So, Sean, maybe if you want to just take a few minutes and tell people about yourself and why you took on this role.
Yeah, sure. First of all, I want to thank the voters for coming out and showing such great support last year and voting me into office. It's a great responsibility, and I'll continue to take it as such, and a privilege to serve the town. I've been in town for 13 years. I live here with my wife and two daughters. They're 5 and 7, and they'll be both. One of them's in the elementary school right now. They'll both be in the elementary school next year. So we have a great appreciation for a lot of the projects and things that the town has been doing, and a lot of what we've accomplished over the last several years. In my professional career, I'm a director of digital and IT strategy for a hotel management company. I do a lot of project management and sort of wrangling separate departments and trying to get them to work together efficiently and effectively. And so when I was at town meeting last year, it occurred to me that there's a lot of things that we could do to sort of make town meeting a little bit more fair, equitable across the board. Make people feel a little bit more welcome to join in and debate and to have their ideas heard, and to sort of apply the rules kind of equally across the board, and make the process a little bit, again, more fair, a little bit more transparent, a little bit more predictable for folks that may not be familiar with the process, and to kind of bring the town along for the ride, and just sort of make them a part of the process. And so one of the things that we're sort of starting out with this year is to kind of set up a set of rules that sort of apply to town meeting, that are published, that can become part of the bylaws, that make our proceedings a little bit more, again, transparent, predictable, and kind of steady throughout the course of our meetings as the years progress.
So let me jump in there, and I think, and Sean's been involved in the town. Sean was helpful in helping to move some of the elementary school projects forward, and has a history of working in the town to try to see our town grow. But obviously he ran for this position, got elected, and since that time, over the last year, Sean and I have had periodic conversations. And what has impressed me with Sean is that there's not really a school to go to learn how to be a town moderator. So in order to be a successful town moderator, you really need to have watched and participated in several town meetings. But I see over on the desk you have Robert's Rules of Order, which he has, which is in essence the Bible for town meeting. I'm going to ask him to tell me a little bit about that in a second. And then also the other second Bible is Town Meeting Times, which, in Massachusetts and in New England, and it's part of the oldest form of government that we have, where all the legislative actions occur to kind of finally adopt a budget, and then allow the town to implement those budgets based upon the priorities that town meeting has set. One of the things that I like to see, and I know the selectmen do, is we like to see as many people come to town meeting as possible. Because at the end of the day, we recognize in this world that we live in is people's time is precious. And many people have dual income families trying to bring home enough pay, if you will, to run your families. So we try to set this up. So we're requesting it, one night a year that we really want to get as many people out as we can to town meetings so that they can participate in this old form of democracy to kind of spearhead where the town's going to be going over the next year and in some case, decades. So with that, again, Sean has done a lot of research on here. And Sean, do you just want to take a minute and talk about what kind of the guiding parameters are for this position?
Yeah, so there's three sort of sources that we go to with regards to how to proceed at town meetings. One of them is Massachusetts general laws. So there's specific laws that the state has set forth to kind of dictate some of the policy and procedure with regards to town meeting, and encourage everybody to kind of check that out. We also have a moderators page on the Town of Carver website where you can go up and there's links to all this stuff on there. So the first is Massachusetts general laws. You also have Robert's Rules of Order, which Michael already mentioned, which gets revised from time to time, but pretty far between. It's currently in the 11th edition, and anybody can pick this up anywhere that sells books, like Amazon or whatever. And this is sort of the de facto standard for parliamentary procedure. So we use it as sort of a rule of parliamentary procedure for our town meetings. The federal government uses it for their meetings. State government uses it for their meetings. It just sort of ensures that things progress in a sort of methodical, civil, and fair fashion. It gives the participants of the meeting a lot of opportunity to participate in the process. If you know Robert's Rules of Order, it will definitely help make the meeting run a lot more smoothly and give the people a lot more power to sort of steer things in the direction that they may want it to go.
And it's trying to be fair to all speakers so
Right.
that it can't be monopolized by one particular person or whatever it may be. It's to make sure that all the residents can be equally heard.
Right, right. And then the third source you have is Town Meeting Time, which is actually a publication by the Mass Moderators Association. It's a Massachusetts organization. And it really touches on, it really kind of takes Robert's Rules of Order and Massachusetts general laws and kind of has a discussion about the two and how they relate to each other. It also covers some other states as well too. In New England, it's kind of a joint collaboration between New England states. But it really, like I said, it kind of ties those two texts together, kind of takes a lot of the things that are sort of left ambiguous sort of between the two and tries to look at Massachusetts general laws to interpret, how they apply to Robert's Rules of Orders and also pass court rulings and things like that to kind of set precedents and standards and whatnot. And this book is, incidentally, a bit shorter than this book, which is quite obvious. So if you were to just pick one to kind of get an idea for how we run town meeting or what the basics are, you could probably read this in about a week or so, and you'd have a good idea of how things are going to proceed.
So as I mentioned, Sean has been doing a lot of research and has become very astute in the policies and the procedures and the parliamentary process for running town meeting, which I think will help. And based off of the Mass General Laws, based off of the Robert's Rules of Orders and town meeting times and any bylaws that we have, is those are the kind of the governing documents that we have to run town meeting. And although those are always been in place and will continue to be in place. Last year at town meeting, there was some confusion as to what rules were going on and how were those being interpreted. And as you've heard, Sean, he wants to make sure that it's clarified so that everybody understands what it is. And with that, at this year's town meeting, Sean is proposing as town moderator the first article in the warrant, which would be an actual addition to our bylaws, to create some language that, in essence, pulls the elements out of all of those documents and puts it on, in a very simple 1 or 2 page document that outlines some of the highlights, some of the key important things that come out of those documents. You're not recreating the wheel.
Right.
You're just pulling those elements out. So
right.
Would you take a few minutes and kind of talk about what this bylaw changes? Or it's not even a bylaw change. You're actually looking to add to the bylaw for
right.
clarity.
Right. Yeah. Our current bylaws don't say much about how we're supposed to run run town meeting. Our current bylaws make reference to Robert's Rules of Order. They don't make reference necessarily to town meeting time. Although again, town meeting time isn't necessarily a set of its own rules. It's kind of a discussion of the rules. But we felt we needed to make it a little bit more clear to folks what rules we were going to follow and how procedure was going to work at town meeting. And it's just not very clear in our current bylaws. So we're adding a little bit more context to that. Like you said, we're not really sort of reinventing the wheel. We're not rewriting Robert's rules or town meeting time. We're kind of pulling those things out which we know are sort of very applicable to our meetings as we've experienced them over the years, and putting them out there, in the bylaws so that folks have a little bit more of a concise list of the things that are important to our meetings per se. That's not to say that there's not going to be things that come up outside the realm of what we've listed in the bylaws, but that's where we're going to refer to our manuals of parliamentary procedure and Massachusetts general laws to sort of prevail there. But again, we've not sort of gone outside of what's recommended in these texts. There's some areas where it leaves some discretion to either the moderator or for the town to write it into the bylaws, and so we're doing that here. It could be a work in progress over time as well too. So as we gain more experience at town meeting, and we gain more understanding of the voters' preferences, it could be that these sort of are a living document that might change from year to year. But we need something to start with, and we need sort of a basis of understanding for everybody.
Mm-hmm. So one of the roles of the moderator is you're in charge of town meeting. I hate to use this word, but in essence, you're the final arbitrator of what happens at town meeting and how the process works and the procedures with that, and that's what the state law allows to happen. So with this, I think it's, as you've explained to me, is that even though you have that authority to make those decisions, you felt it was really important for the town meeting to vote on adding these to the bylaws so there's no confusion anymore. It's like, yes, these are the rules that you have to follow anyway, but again, I want to take those out of there. I want town meeting to actually participate in calling out those items that I have to do anyway, and put it into that document. Is that a fair statement of what you're trying to accomplish?
Yeah, I think so. Just to take certain things that may have been left to discretion before and just sort of put it out there as okay, well, here's how we're going to apply it across the board. Rather than leaving it up to discretion. That's not to say there's still a lot of other things that could be left to discretion, but we're going to do our best to follow parliamentary procedure. If somebody has a point of order, then we're going to refer back to parliamentary procedure. We're going to go back to Robert's Rules of Order. We're going to go back to town meeting time to sort of decide that, whether from memory or whether we actually have to open up the book and take a look. So,
So we talk a lot sometimes in government boards and committees is each committee has, like 4 corners of the rules that they can work within. And in essence, these documents create that picture frame, that 4 corners. And although you're in charge of town meeting, all of your power and authority comes from those documents.
Sure.
And so again, I just wanted to make that clear that, not only does the town moderator have that authority to do, he's also taken this extra step at his first town meeting to really involve town meeting to be part of adopting regulations, so it's easier for our process to run more smoothly in the future. Because again, I think we all respect the fact that everybody has many other priorities in life, and we're trying to run an efficient and effective and transparent town meeting to allow this to occur.
Right, yeah, and I've been getting a lot of feedback, as I'm sure you can imagine, on town meeting, and one of the overwhelming pieces of feedback that I get from everybody, which is can you do something to make the process less painful? It's a long meeting. A lot of times it goes until the wee hours of the evening, and can you kind of make it progress a little bit faster without taking away people's freedom to speak. So the best we can do is come up with some rules that we try to ask everybody to follow, We've got some time limits in here in terms of how long you can speak and whatnot. We're going to try to hold people to that, not because we want to cut people off or because we want to restrict their ability to free speech, but we want to protect other people's ability to have free speech as well too. And so if that meeting goes on until 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 1 in the morning or something like that, there's people whose free speech is going to be impeded by the fact that they just can't be there that long. Mm-hmm. And so we're trying to do what's best for the greatest common denominator. It's not always going to be perfect for everybody, but we try to do the best we can.
In my tenure here in Carver, and talking to other selectmen and other people in town, is that at town meeting we've had many people come there for their first town meeting and come up to us after or talk to us a few weeks later and say, I'm never coming to another town meeting. Mm-hmm. I had the same person talking time and time again, trying to get in arguments with everybody, or the same 2 or 3 people. And there was not good dialogue on what the merits are of things. It was turned into more political discussions. And how are you going to address that this year? Because I think, one of our reasons for doing this is we want to encourage more people to come. So how are we going to try to say that this is going to be run differently than the past so that we're respecting your time?
Yeah, I think it's important to kind of stay on topic. Robert's Rules of Order and Time Anytime even tells us that the debate should focus on the subject of the article. So, we see that from time to time in the past where, we kind of get off on a tangent and are talking about things that are not directly related to the business at hand. And so I think that's going to be a focus this year, is to definitely stay on track, focus on the article that we're discussing right now. Anything that's incidental to that or not within the scope of the article would unfortunately be out of order. Well, fortunately for us, but for the general meeting, but unfortunately for the person who might feel like that's the forum or the time to bring that up. Again, we don't want to step on people. We don't want to limit their right to have be a part of the process. But we have articles that are sort of set forth, and we have to kind of stay on track and follow the business that's laid out there. We're also going to try to sort of limit the reiteration of things and whatnot as well too. So if there's a lot of redundancy in conversation, we're going to try to discourage that a little bit. Again, we don't want to squash people's right to speak up and say something, but if it's already been said, we ask that people sort of respect that and bring something new to the table or allow us to sort of continue the conversation. Mm-hmm. We're going to be pretty open to questions as we have in the past. The voters need to know what it is that they're voting on, and so questions are going to be encouraged. As we mentioned before, there'll be a time limit as well too, so that we can kind of move things along a little bit. So we're going to ask people to respectfully consider, your comments before you make them. Think about it a little bit. Think about what you're going to say. Say it. Make your point. Get your point across, and then give someone else an opportunity to speak.
Great. Now, one of the things we do in Carver, different than some other towns, is when we put the warrant packet together, is not only do we put the motions in there, we also add the detailed, we put in the article, and then we add the detailed motion, and then we also put a summary on there. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that you've been talking about with town council is that since that's all publicized ahead of time, and when people come to town meeting, not only do they get the warrant and all the appendices that have the detail, they also get a summary of the budget process, mm-hmm. A summary of the financial management policies, and then they also get kind of a Reader's Digest version of all the articles with a summary of the state of the town in that right. packet. So when they have, for people that haven't been involved in the committees, and we do have many committees in town that do the work of town meeting throughout the year to go through the detail, is that for a member coming in has a full packet. Right. And out of that full packet, what you've been discussing with town council is that when we put these up on the screen, particularly the motion, is that how are you going to address reading the motion this year to kind of help move things along?
Right. So we figured that since the motion's all written out already, it's not necessarily to have the person making the motion to read the whole details of the motion. If they agree with the way it's written, then we're going to have them just sort of make a motion to move as written. And that should help move things along a little bit better. Of course, it's within the realm of possibility that someone may want to amend that motion, and that's possible. You might want to table that motion. You might want to indefinitely postpone that motion. So you still have the flexibility to change it up a little bit if need be. But in order to move things along a little bit, perhaps we're not going to be reading that motion in detail if we're going to go as written in the town meeting warrant. So and that's important to me is that we put procedures in place to, again, expedite the meeting as best we can for those people that don't want to be there for a long time, but then also give some flexibility to allow people to still do whatever it is that they want to do.
Mm-hmm. So with that, again, the motions are written in detail and you'll be moving those motions. But since this gets recorded and this becomes law based upon what the town voted this year, when people go to make amendments, one of the requirements are that those are in writing.
Yes.
And how do you want to address that this year?
Yeah, I'd say we continue to do that. It's helpful and recommended in Robert's Rules of Order as well too, to have the motions, any main motion or amendment that you want to make in writing, so that we can fully understand exactly what the context of the motion is when we read it out to the audience, and so then that the voters know what they're voting on as well too, it's really important that we have that information as soon as humanly possible as well too. So we've discussed.
There's a role of town council in looking at those motions.
Absolutely, yeah. So we want town council to look at it just to make sure that it's not out of order. I'll look at it to make sure it's not out of order, and we'll let you know. We'll let you know if it's out of order, and then you'll have an opportunity to revise it and pass it back over to us for another try.
Let me just talk a little bit about, being out of order, is that it has to follow a legal process that's in there,
right.
But it also has to be within the four corners of the scope of the article.
Right.
And so that, in order to make a motion, it has to be allowed within what was advertised.
Right, yeah, so if an article has a dollar amount that says not to exceed, and your amendment is to exceed the dollar amount, it's going to be out of order because we've not given people notice that it's going to be $1 million versus $500,000. So I think that's really important that folks sort of understand why something might be out of order as well too. And I thought that was one of the benefits that I could bring to town meeting as well too, is that I felt that in the past maybe we didn't do a very good job of educating people on why they might be out of order or why we were following any sort of procedure that we were following. And we can let them know. So for certain, if your action is going to be out of order, we're going to let you know why it is, give you an opportunity to fix that, so that you can get done what it is that you're trying to do. At the end of the day, that's what we want. Is we don't just want to sort of push through our articles and get the business done. We want to give you an opportunity to have a say, and you don't necessarily have to be an expert in parliamentary procedure. We don't want everybody to have to be a scholar in order to try to get their stuff done. So we'll try to bring you along a little bit and let you know, hey, this is why we're calling it out of order. It's because you've asked for $1 million. The article is only saying not to exceed $500,000, and it would not be fair to folks that didn't decide to come to the meeting because they only thought it was going to be $500,000.
Now, I've seen you at several different boards and committee meetings over the last year, trying to understand what the different boards and committee are doing, particularly the finance committee, obviously the school committee, the police station building committee, but as we focusing on the finance committee, their charge, who you actually appoint, one of the appointees of that committee, and again, we have a few vacancies on there, just letting everybody know, is that their role is really to go through each one of these financial articles in great detail and maybe share with the public some of your observations that you've seen there so that people realize that beyond the selectmen, that the finance committee is really the checks and balance of what's going on.
Right, yeah. Yeah, I mean, the finance committee is, it's interesting to me because before I attended a meeting, I didn't really realize kind of the scope of what they have on their plate, really. And it's to kind of implement and execute the financial policies that the town has sort of voted on and you know, sort of debate what we're going to do with our money on a day-to-day basis, and it's quite a large job that they have too, because it's all of the town's finances really that they're sort of commenting on and debating on, but they're a group of our peers, so they're fellow townsfolk, fellow Carver residents. That get together to talk about, yes, I think we should spend 20 grand on this, or 100 grand on equipment for the fire department, or so on, and so that's where we as residents have an opportunity to kind of steer that process. And like you said, there's actually 5 openings on the finance committee right now, which I thought was very surprising, because there's definitely a lot of opinions within the town on how we should spend our money. And so there's great opportunity there to join in and be a part of that conversation. If those 5 positions aren't filled, then your decisions are being made by a smaller group, a smaller subset of the community. So as far as I'm concerned, the more the merrier on that committee, right? Because the more diversity of opinion, the better off we are. So I found that particularly interesting, just sort of the scope of what they do. As I said, pretty much everything that has to do with the town's finances is something that they'll comment on, and the fact that it's such a large committee, it's like one of the largest committees in town, and such an opportunity there for folks that may not have considered that. So once it gets to town meeting, it's already been vetted by a group of your peers.
And these people spend hundreds of hours throughout the year going through this, interviewing, meeting with all department heads, asking all the questions, asking for follow-up. I know one particular topic that they're going to talk about at town meeting, they had 7 different meetings on. So I think your point is well taken, that there is a lot of work that's been done with that diverse group, and again, part of the appointment process is you're one of the people that appoint people to that as well. So we're looking for people there. We're sort of running out of time, but I wanted to just quickly hit a couple highlights on the warrant, and as this continues to get finalized. The warrant this year is going to be close to 30 articles, which is almost double compared to what it was last year. Some of that the selectmen have unbundled some of the articles that were done before, so that there's more breakout. Having said that, we're doing some of the finance articles for free cash and or for capital outlay. Those are listed out A through whatever. Those can always be broken up by town meeting, but they're the same topic. So that's how we present them. Otherwise, we'd be at 100 articles when we start looking through all the A's and Z's there. In the warrant packet, we have it set up so that, again, the first article is going to be the new town moderator's article. Our second article is really going to focus on the police station and the playground. And we're really going to put that in the beginning because that appears to be the most controversial topic in town. So the selectmen wanted to have that discussion right up front and have people be able to debate that both ways and determine what the next course of action is. From there, we kind of get into our financial articles that are consistent in their structure over the last 5 years, and I think everyone recognizes how well the financial system's been running in town. Then from there, we get into more of our regular Mass General Law type articles, our CPC articles, and then we end the town meeting with all of the zoning and land use change articles, which is how the warrant is generally structured. The warrant is posted online. It's still in draft form. It will be changing through with the selectmen's meetings coming up, but at least the financial articles that are raise and appropriate monies, those are all final right now. Those have to be done 30 days prior to town meeting. We also have listed on the town website is the appendices, which have the detailed analysis, which the Finance Committee has gone through, and they've gone through even additional layers beyond what's in the appendices. And one of the things that we always encourage is take a look at the warrant. Take a look at some of the boards and committees that have recommended stuff. Ask questions. And particularly with the Finance Committee, because they can answer a lot of the questions that are made up of your peers that can provide some detail before you get to town meeting. So I know we're in the process of wrapping this up, and we don't have time to go through every article. Any other closing comments you want to talk about? I know you've set up some office hours at the library. You're offering for people to come talk about this?
Yes.
And,
yeah, I was actually going to bring up the dates here, but I don't see. I'm not able to do it at the moment. But
they're on your website?
Yeah, they'll be on the moderator website. One of them will be the Saturday before town meeting, actually. And the other one's going to be on a weeknight. And so we're giving folks an opportunity to come out, ask questions about town meeting, and if they have particular questions about a specific thing that they may want to accomplish at town meeting, we can go through that a little bit and discuss it. Maybe I can take notes, bring them back to town council, and help people be a little bit more prepared as well too. Because there's nothing more frustrating than sort of standing up at town meeting and then finding out that that you can't do it the way that you want to do it just because of you're sort of out of procedure and you're out of order as a result. So we want to kind of make it as frustration-free as possible. So I think it's a great opportunity to come out, meet with me with any questions that you may have, see if we can get them answered. Maybe kind of even just open up the books a little bit if you want to go through and learn how particular things are done and nuances and whatnot to kind of cover that stuff. So looking forward to that, and hope a lot of people come out. They'll be held at the library, so it should be pretty easy for everybody to get to. Yeah.
Well, I hope this year we get well over 200 people at town meeting. I'm not sure we'll get that high, but with over 11,000 people in the town, getting a couple hundred would be good, and giving everybody an opportunity to participate in your local government. With that, congratulations on your new appointment. Looking forward to how you're going to run town meeting this year, and appreciate all the hard work you've done to prepare for it. And I know you're still working diligently on this as we get closer.
Yes, absolutely. And thank you for the time that you and the rest of the town folks have put in. Everybody at Town Hall seems to be really sort of committed to town meeting, and that's been sort of another part of the experience for me is just how much people sort of appreciate town meeting and what it is and what it can do for the town, and it they've put in some tireless work, late nights and long days, and so I appreciate that. I hope the rest of the town appreciates that. I know they do.
Great.
So, yeah.
Well, thank you.